My dear brothers and sisters, today I want to speak to you about something very sensitive, something many people carry quietly in their hearts. Islam teaches us kindness, mercy, patience, and maintaining family ties. But Islam never teaches us to tolerate harm, oppression, or destruction of our faith and dignity. Being related by blood does not make injustice halal, and loving your family does not mean allowing yourself to be broken by them. Let us reflect deeply on 7 toxic behaviors Islam says you should never tolerate, not even from family, while remembering that wisdom, balance, and taqwa must guide every decision. 1. Abuse and oppression in any form. My dear brothers and sisters, Islam stands firmly and clearly against all forms of oppression, no matter where it comes from or who commits it. Oppression is not limited to physical violence alone. It includes emotional cruelty, verbal abuse, constant humiliation, threats, control, fear, and psychological intimidation that slowly breaks a person from the inside. Allah is Al-Adl, the most just, and He does not tolerate zulm in any form, even when it happens behind closed doors, even when it comes from parents, spouses, siblings, or relatives. When a person is constantly shouted at, insulted, threatened, degraded, or made to feel unsafe in their own home, this is not a test of patience, and it is not something Islam tells you to silently endure. This is oppression taking place, and Allah sees it clearly, even if others pretend not to. Many people confuse sabr with silent suffering, but Islam never teaches you to normalize harm. The Prophet ﷺ warned us very strongly that oppression will become darkness upon darkness on the day of judgment, meaning that zulm destroys the soul of the oppressor and deeply wounds the heart of the one who is oppressed. When abuse continues without limits, it slowly erodes a person's self-worth, confidence, and even their connection with Allah. A home that should be a place of peace becomes a place of fear, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. And this is not what Islam wants for any believer. Islam does not require you to remain in an environment where your body is harmed, your mind is constantly under stress, and your soul is being crushed day after day. Respecting family does not mean accepting mistreatment, and obedience does not mean surrendering your dignity. Allah honored the children of Adam with dignity, and no one has the right to strip that dignity away. Patience in Islam is not passive weakness. Patience is strength with wisdom. True sabr means responding in a way that pleases Allah while taking the correct halal steps to protect yourself from ongoing injustice. If harm continues and nothing changes, creating boundaries, seeking help, or distancing yourself from abuse is not disobedience, and it is not a lack of faith. It is self-preservation, and Islam allows it. Allah does not love those who oppress, and He does not expect the oppressed to destroy themselves in the name of patience. Allah hears the dua of the oppressed even when it is whispered in pain, and He promises that injustice will never go unanswered. 2. Constant humiliation and degrading speech. My dear brothers and sisters, Islam places great importance on the dignity of every human being. Allah created us with honor, and no one has the right to strip that honor away through words that humiliate, mock, or crush the heart. Constant humiliation does not always look loud or dramatic. Sometimes it comes quietly through sarcasm, ridicule, name-calling, harsh criticism, constant comparison, or reminders of past mistakes meant to keep a person feeling small. When someone repeatedly speaks to you in a way that makes you feel worthless, ashamed, or broken, this is not love, and it is not sincere advice. This is a form of harm that Islam clearly condemns. Allah tells us in the Quran not to insult one another, not to mock one another, and not to degrade one another, because words have power. Words can either heal or destroy. When degrading speech becomes a habit, it slowly eats away at a person's confidence, peace, and sense of self. Many people smile on the outside while bleeding on the inside because of words spoken to them daily by those closest to them. Islam does not teach you to normalize this pain or to pretend that it does not matter. Emotional wounds are real, and Allah is fully aware of them. Some people justify their harsh words by calling it honesty, discipline, or concern. But Islam teaches that advice should be gentle, sincere, and meant to uplift, not humiliate. The Prophet ﷺ never crushed people with his words, even when correcting them. He chose kindness, wisdom, and mercy. If someone's speech constantly leaves you feeling anxious, inferior, or emotionally drained, that is not guidance and it is not care. It is harmful behavior that slowly damages the heart and weakens a person's ability to see their own worth. Respecting family does not mean allowing your dignity to be destroyed. Islam allows you to protect yourself from degrading treatment while maintaining good character. You are allowed to say that certain words hurt you. You are allowed to create boundaries around how you are spoken to. Silence in the face of constant humiliation does not always bring reward. Sometimes it only deepens the wound. True patience is not accepting repeated emotional harm without limits, but handling the situation in a way that preserves your dignity and pleases Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, never forget that Allah hears every word spoken to you and every word spoken about you. If people tear you down with their tongues, Allah knows your true value. No one has the right to make you feel less than what Allah created you to be. Protecting your heart from constant humiliation is not arrogance, and it is not disobedience. It is honoring the dignity Allah Himself placed within you. 3. Being forced into sin or pulled away from Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the clearest boundaries Islam sets is that your relationship with Allah comes before every relationship in this world. No human being, no matter how close they are to you, has the right to pressure you into sin or to pull your heart away from Allah. Obedience to parents, spouses, or family is important in Islam, but it is never unconditional when it clashes with obedience to Allah. The Prophet ﷺ made this principle very clear when he taught us that there is no obedience to the creation if it involves disobedience to the Creator. Sometimes this pressure is obvious, such as being directly encouraged to engage in haram actions, dishonest behavior, forbidden relationships, or immoral lifestyles. At other times, it is subtle and disguised as jokes, mockery, or emotional pressure. You may be laughed at for praying, criticized for wearing hijab, discouraged from growing a beard, or made to feel extreme for following the sunnah. Slowly, this kind of pressure can weaken a person's confidence in their faith and create shame around practicing Islam. Islam never supports this. Anything that distances you from salah, Quran, modesty, or remembrance of Allah is a spiritual harm, even if it comes wrapped in family expectations. Some people use love, fear, or guilt to push others towards sin, saying things like, everyone does this, or don't be so strict, or Allah is forgiving. It doesn't matter. While Allah is indeed most merciful, Islam never teaches us to take His mercy lightly or to deliberately walk away from obedience. When someone consistently encourages you to ignore Allah's commands or makes you feel uncomfortable for trying to be closer to Him, this is not care and it is not guidance. It is a test of your faith. My dear brothers and sisters, Islam gives you the strength to stand firm without becoming harsh or disrespectful. You can refuse sin with calmness, wisdom, and dignity. You do not need to argue endlessly or become aggressive. Sometimes quietly holding your ground is an act of worship in itself. You may be misunderstood, criticized, or even isolated for choosing Allah, but Allah sees your struggle and honors your sincerity. No sacrifice made for Allah is ever wasted. Never forget that on the day of judgment, no family member will stand beside you to answer for your choices. Each soul will stand alone before Allah. Choosing Allah over pressure, mockery, or emotional manipulation is not rebellion, and it is not arrogance. It is loyalty to your Creator. Protecting your faith is one of the greatest responsibilities you have, and Islam allows you to create distance from anyone who repeatedly tries to pull you away from Allah, even if they share your blood. 4. Manipulation, control, and emotional blackmail. My dear brothers and sisters, Islam is a religion of justice, clarity, and honesty, and it does not approve of manipulation or control disguised as love, care, or concern. Manipulation happens when someone uses guilt, fear, emotional pressure, or religious language to force you into decisions that harm your peace, your dignity, or your faith. This behavior is extremely damaging because it does not always look abusive on the surface. Often, it comes wrapped in words that sound caring, while the intention underneath is to dominate, control, or silence you. Emotional blackmail commonly appears through statements that make you feel responsible for another person's happiness or anger. You may hear things like, "If you loved me, you would do this," or "After everything I have done for you, this is how you repay me," or "If you don't obey, Allah will be displeased with you." My dear brothers and sisters, this is not how Islam works. Allah does not give any human being the authority to use His name as a weapon to control others. Faith is built on sincerity, not fear-driven obedience to people. Islam teaches us that every soul is accountable for its own choices. No one will carry your sins or your intentions into the grave except you. When someone constantly pressures you to make decisions through guilt or fear, they are crossing a boundary that Islam does not permit. Consultation in Islam is based on mutual respect, honesty, and mercy, not coercion. Advice should leave you feeling clearer and closer to Allah, not trapped, confused, or emotionally drained. Control can also appear when someone refuses to allow you independence, growth, or personal boundaries. They may monitor your choices, dismiss your feelings, or punish you emotionally when you do not comply with their wishes. Over time, this kind of control weakens confidence and creates deep anxiety, because you begin to feel that you are never allowed to be yourself. Islam does not want believers to live in fear of people. Islam wants hearts that are free, grounded in trust in Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, you are allowed to say no without being sinful. You are allowed to take time to think, to seek advice, and to make choices that align with your conscience and your faith. Setting boundaries with someone who manipulates you does not mean you are ungrateful or disrespectful. It means you are protecting the amana Allah placed within you, which is your heart and your life. True obedience is obedience to Allah, not submission to emotional pressure. Remember that Allah is gentle and He calls His servants with mercy, not with threats or guilt. Anyone who tries to control you through emotional blackmail is acting contrary to the spirit of Islam, even if they appear religious on the surface. Trust Allah, seek wisdom, and know that protecting yourself from manipulation is not rebellion. It is self-respect guided by faith. 5. Injustice in wealth, rights, and responsibilities. My dear brothers and sisters, Islam is extremely clear and firm when it comes to justice, especially within families, because injustice among relatives is often hidden, normalized, and excused in ways that would never be accepted outside the home. Many people silently suffer because money, rights, and responsibilities are used as tools of control, pressure, or exploitation by those closest to them. Islam does not allow this, and Allah does not overlook it. Whether the injustice involves wealth, inheritance, labor, emotional burden, or personal rights, oppression remains oppression, even if it is done by a parent, a spouse, a sibling, or a relative. One of the most common forms of injustice happens when someone is financially exploited in the name of family obligation. A person may be forced to give money constantly, denied their rightful inheritance, pressured to carry responsibilities that do not belong to them, or made to feel sinful for wanting financial independence or fairness. Islam never commands a believer to be exploited. Allah laid down clear laws regarding wealth, inheritance, and responsibility, and no one has the authority to override Allah's limits for personal benefit. When someone takes what is not theirs, delays your rights, or burdens you unfairly while benefiting themselves, they are committing zulm, and Allah is fully aware of it. Another form of injustice occurs when emotional or physical labor is unfairly imposed. Some people are expected to sacrifice their health, time, dreams, and peace endlessly, while others contribute nothing, yet still demand obedience and gratitude. This imbalance slowly breaks a person and creates resentment, exhaustion, and despair. Islam does not teach blind sacrifice that destroys a believer's well-being. Responsibility in Islam is meant to be shared with fairness, compassion, and mutual respect. When one person is constantly drained while others remain comfortable, this is not piety, it is injustice. Many people are silenced with religious language when they speak about unfair treatment. They are told that questioning injustice is disrespect, that asking for rights is greed, or that speaking up will anger Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, this is a dangerous misuse of religion. Allah Himself commands justice, and He does not side with the oppressor simply because they are older, louder, or more powerful. Standing up against injustice in a respectful and lawful manner is not rebellion. It is obedience to Allah's command for fairness. Islam teaches us that wealth is an amana, a trust, and it will be questioned. Every penny taken unjustly, every right denied, every burden placed unfairly will be accounted for before Allah. No family bond will protect a person from Allah's justice if they wrong others. At the same time, Islam reassures the oppressed that Allah sees their patience, their pain, and their restraint. Allah promises that injustice will never go unanswered, even if it takes time. My dear brothers and sisters, you are not sinful for protecting yourself from exploitation. You are not ungrateful for asking for fairness. You are not weak for refusing to carry burdens that were never yours to bear. Islam does not ask you to destroy yourself to maintain peace that is built on injustice. True peace is built on balance, honesty, and respect. Trust that Allah is Al-Adl, the most just. And when you choose dignity, fairness, and truth, you are choosing a path that is closer to Allah, not farther from Him. 6. Constant negativity that destroys your mental and spiritual health. My dear brothers and sisters, Islam deeply cares about the state of your heart, your mind, and your emotional well-being, because a heart weighed down by constant negativity struggles to remain strong in faith. When a person is surrounded day after day by anger, complaints, blame, hopelessness, criticism, and emotional chaos, it slowly poisons the soul. This kind of negativity may not leave bruises on the body, but it leaves deep scars on the heart. Islam does not dismiss this pain, and it does not ask you to pretend that it does not matter simply because the source is family. Constant negativity often shows itself through endless complaining, constant criticism, pessimism about life, or turning every conversation into a source of stress and tension. You may notice that every time you interact with certain people, you leave feeling drained, anxious, restless, or emotionally exhausted. Instead of peace, your heart feels heavy. Instead of motivation, you feel hopeless. Over time, this emotional weight can affect your prayer, your focus, your patience, and even your relationship with Allah. Islam recognizes that this is harmful because anything that consistently weakens your Iman and steals your inner peace must be addressed. Many people feel guilty for admitting that family negativity affects them deeply. They tell themselves they must endure it endlessly, believing that leaving or setting boundaries makes them selfish or sinful. My dear brothers and sisters, Islam does not command you to drown emotionally while trying to rescue someone who refuses to change. Helping family is virtuous, but destroying yourself in the process is not worship. Even the Prophet ﷺ chose wisdom in how he dealt with harmful behavior, and he did not expose himself repeatedly to emotional harm without reason. Living in an environment filled with constant negativity can slowly reshape your thoughts. You may begin to doubt yourself, lose confidence, feel chronically stressed, or even believe that peace is something you do not deserve. This is extremely dangerous for the heart. A heart that is constantly under emotional pressure finds it difficult to soften in prayer or to feel hope in Allah's mercy. Islam wants believers to have hearts that are alive, hopeful, and connected to Allah, not hearts crushed by endless emotional turmoil. Setting boundaries with negativity is not hatred, and it is not abandonment. Sometimes it means limiting conversations, reducing exposure, or emotionally distancing yourself while still maintaining respect. Sometimes it means choosing silence instead of engaging in constant conflict. Islam allows wisdom, and wisdom sometimes means protecting your heart so that it can remain strong in remembrance of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ taught us to choose good company because the people around you shape your inner state more than you realize. My dear brothers and sisters, you are not responsible for fixing everyone, especially when they refuse to take responsibility for their own behavior. You are responsible for guarding your heart, your faith, and your mental well-being. Allah does not want His servants to live in constant emotional darkness. He wants you to breathe, to feel peace, and to grow spiritually. If someone's negativity is slowly destroying your inner stability, Islam allows you to step back without guilt while continuing to make dua for them and wishing them well. Remember that Allah sees the emotional battles you fight in silence. He knows the weight you carry and the patience you have shown. Protecting your mental and spiritual health is not selfishness, it is preservation of the heart that Allah entrusted to you. When you choose peace in a halal and respectful way, you are choosing a path that strengthens your Iman, not weakens it. 7. Normalizing harm and calling it sabr. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the most dangerous misunderstandings in our communities is the misuse of sabr to justify ongoing harm. Sabr is one of the greatest acts of worship in Islam, but it has been deeply misunderstood and at times weaponized against the vulnerable. Sabr does not mean accepting injustice forever, remaining silent while being hurt repeatedly, or allowing oppression to continue without limits. Islam never commands a believer to stay in a situation that is destroying their faith, dignity, or well-being under the label of patience. True sabr is not passive suffering. True sabr is strength guided by wisdom and trust in Allah. It means enduring hardship while taking the correct halal steps to protect yourself, seek justice, or create distance from harm when necessary. When someone tells you to keep tolerating abuse, humiliation, manipulation, or injustice and then labels it sabr, they are misrepresenting the teachings of Islam. Allah does not reward zulm, and He does not ask the oppressed to sacrifice their entire lives to please people who refuse to change. Many people remain trapped in harmful situations because they fear that leaving or setting boundaries will make them sinful or ungrateful. They are told that Allah loves those who endure pain quietly, but this is only half the truth. Allah loves patience, but He also loves justice. Allah hears the dua of the oppressed and He answers it, even if that dua rises from a broken heart in the middle of the night. Islam does not glorify suffering for the sake of suffering. Islam seeks to remove harm and restore balance. The Prophet ﷺ himself never normalized harm. When companions were oppressed, he guided them with wisdom, sometimes encouraging patience and sometimes allowing migration, distance, or change when the harm became unbearable. This teaches us that Islam recognizes different situations require different responses. Sabr is not one fixed action. It is responding in the way that pleases Allah the most in your specific circumstances. My dear brothers and sisters, staying in a harmful situation without any attempt to protect yourself can slowly destroy your soul. Over time, you may lose hope, lose motivation in worship, and even begin to believe that pain is all you deserve. This is not what Allah wants for His servants. Allah wants hearts that are alive, hopeful, and strong in faith. Creating boundaries, seeking help, or stepping away from harm is not a lack of sabr. It can be an act of wisdom and courage. Never allow anyone to convince you that Allah wants you broken. Allah is Al-Latif, the most gentle, and He does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. If harm continues and nothing changes, it is not sinful to choose safety, peace, and dignity while placing your trust fully in Allah. True sabr is holding on to Allah while refusing to normalize injustice. Trust that Allah sees everything and know with certainty that no oppression, no tear, and no silent pain will ever be wasted in the sight of Allah. My dear brothers and sisters, Islam is a religion of mercy, but it is also a religion of justice, dignity, and balance. Allah did not create you to live a life of constant fear, humiliation, emotional pain, or spiritual suffocation. Being patient does not mean being powerless, and maintaining family ties does not mean sacrificing your mental health. your faith, or your self-respect. Islam never commands you to tolerate harm simply because it comes from those closest to you. You can love your family while refusing toxicity. You can forgive while still creating boundaries. You can remain respectful without allowing repeated injustice.